Okay, let's try this then. Okay, if you just write a piece of paper, we're going to write the 4 problems down. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. So I'm not jumping all around here. Okay, then I tear off another piece of scratch paper so I can do all my scratch work on the other one. Now this is how you multiply algebra fractions, okay? We're actually going to go down to number 1 first. Now, if there is a plus or minus, you have 4 expressions. This, 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 and this, okay? By the way, if it's times, you can just make one fraction, okay? Within this expression, there's no adding or subtracting, so I don't put a parentheses around it. Same with this one. So nothing gets a parentheses. So there's no factoring in this problem, so I'm thinking of it as 3 steps. First step is me trying to rewrite the things that I have to factor. I'm going to factor them and rewrite them over here. But we don't have to do any factoring, okay? The second step, I just need to multiply the top. So what's 6 times 2 is 12. X second, that's the only x on top. Then y would be y times y, so it would be y to the second. Then in the denominator we have a 9. Then for x's we have x and x to the third. That would make that x to the fourth. And then we have y to the second. Okay, now you just need to simplify. 12 and 9 have a GCF of 3, so we need to divide each one of these by 3. So that would be 4 over 3, 4/3. The x second and the x fourth, well, we take away the x second and then subtract 2 from 4, so that would be x to the second on the bottom, okay, because that's where the 4 was at. And the y's would just cancel because they have the same power, and that is my answer, 4 over 3x to the second. Okay, number 2, combine it into 1. Here are the expression. I see minuses, so that goes in a parentheses. I see a plus, that goes in parentheses. I see a plus, that goes in parentheses, and that goes in parentheses. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I need to start factoring. I want to factor that expression there. 2x to the second minus 1x minus 6. So I think of it at first, I try to identify a GCF other than 1. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. No, I think that would just be 1, okay? Then I take, again, I'm trying to rewrite this in 2 parentheses over here, 2 simpler parentheses. So 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, and we're trying to add to get to negative 1. It's 3 times 4, okay? So it would have to be minus 4 and plus 3, okay? Because that have to be a positive and a negative to multiply to a negative, and then you got to add them to get to negative 1, which does that. Now my a is 2, so if a is 2, we think of it as 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 4. Had that been a 6, I'd go 6x and 6x. Then we try to divide these down. That one doesn't, so that's 2x plus 3. That one does, so that's x minus 2. Now here's what you do then. You cross this out, and you replace it with 2x plus 3 and x minus 2. Okay, now the other one, x to the second plus x. This has a GCF, okay? The GCF would be x. So I factor x out. Now x squared divided by x is x. X divided by x, I know you think, oh, that cancels. Yeah, but you got to put something, okay? So it would be plus 1. And x plus 1 is not a dots, not a difference of perfect squares, so that's what I have. X plus 1. Okay, now down here. we have 2x to the second power plus 5x plus 3. That's 3 terms. So I would think if they're a GCF, nope, it'd be 1. So now I make my table and try to make 2 parentheses out of it. So 2 times 3 is 6, positive 6. So it's either negative, negative, or positive, positive, but we have to add to positive 5. So it's probably going to be positive, positive. 1 and 6, no, that's 7. 2 and 3, yep, that would be 5. Okay. Now the a up there is 2x to the second, so I need to say, okay, I'll write 2x plus 2 and 2x plus 3, but then 2 and 2 divide by 2, so it becomes x plus 1. And that stays the same, 2x plus 3. Alright, so now we rewrite that as x plus 1 and 2x plus 3. This one here has 2 terms. There's not a GCF to factor out, but it is a DOPS, okay? Because you got x, you got the minus, you got 2, 2. So I replace that with x plus 2 and x minus 2. Now what you do after that is you need to cross out parentheses. So we have 2x plus 3 on top. Do we have that on bottom? Yes. Get rid of it. X minus 2, you got that on bottom over here. Get rid of them. Then x plus 1, you got that here. See ya. Okay. So what do I have that I haven't crossed out yet? Well, I got this x here. And on bottom, cross out, I've got x plus 2. And that's as simplified as she can get, be x over x plus 2, okay? You can't cancel those because that's part of a parentheses. That one's not, okay? So that's going to be our answer right there, okay? X plus 2. You know the x plus 2's there, and so forth. Okay, number 3. Okay, if the expression has a plus or minus within it, it needs a parentheses. Pretty much that would be all of them, okay? So we need to try to rewrite all of them in factored form. So we got 6x to the second plus 1x minus 1. I don't think that would have a GCF. I think it would just be 1. Then the table. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Positive times a negative. We're trying to add to get to plus 1. It's 2 and 3 would be negative 1, but then if I make it plus 3 minus 2, it's positive 1. So a up there is 6, so we're going to go 6x minus 2 and 6x plus 3, but then we got to divide down. Divide that by 2, that's 3x minus 1, and divide that by 3, that is going to be 2x plus 1. Okay, cross that out and rewrite it. So 3x minus 1, 2x plus 1. Okay, the other one, x to the power 2 minus 4x minus 5. I think the GCF would just be 1 here. Okay, so 1 times negative 5 would be negative 5. So it's a positive times a negative, and we have to add to get to negative 4. Doesn't take long, it'd be 1 and 5. Now a is a 1. If you have a 1, you can get rid of it, and you only need 2 parentheses. Okay, it would simply just be x plus 1, x minus 5. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the 4x cubed plus the 4x squared. Okay, 2 terms, so GCF, and then see if you have a DOPS. Don't think you will, but okay, 4 and 4, well 4 would be the GCF, and then we take the x to the second. So I factor out 4x to the second. Then I would divide by 4x to the second. That would be, these cancel, don't cancel the 4's, that's 1. You need to write 1 there. So it's going to be 1x, x to the first, or x plus 1. Definitely not adopts. I don't even have a second power on the x, so no way. So I cross this out and I rewrite it as 4x squared times 1x plus 1. Actually, when you're doing this, the way I'm explaining it here, cross that out. Cross that, just go with these two. Okay. Then 6x squared minus 2x. So that's two terms. So that would be GCF. And then the adopts. Okay, GCF 6 and 2 would be 2x. So I factor 2x out, then I go divide it. These cancel, the 2's don't. That's 3x minus 1. And that's not adopts, not even close. So I just rewrite that as 2x times 3x minus 1. Okay, now cross out any parentheses you can. There, there. It's got to be from top to bottom. 2x plus 1, I don't have that on bottom. X plus 1, and the x minus 5's got to stay put. Okay? So what parentheses was I not able to cross out? Well, 2x plus 1, that's on top. That'll be in the answer in the final product. Then x minus 5 is in the final product. Okay, after we write those down, we can cross them out. But now you got to look for stuff outside parentheses. We don't have anything on top. Everything's crossed out. On bottom, we have 4x to the third times 2x. So 4 times 2 is 8, and then x second times x is x to the third. So on bottom, I'm going to have 8x to the third power. You got to look for stuff, these little factors outside the parentheses, the GCFs you pulled out. They don't just go away. Okay, you need to put them there. Okay. Okay, last one. Hopefully I can get to it before my camera dies. Okay, we need to parenthesize here because there's pluses and minuses within that, here and here. That doesn't get a parentheses, okay? Okay, so let's talk about x to the second minus 4x minus 32. So there'd be no, the GCF would be 1, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Now I do my trinomial t-chart. Okay, remember I'm just trying to rewrite this in two parentheses. So it's negative 32, it's a positive times a negative, and we're trying to add to get to negative 4. Eventually you come to 4 and 8, and that looks good to me. A is 1, so you don't need to worry about it. So it's x plus 4, x minus 8. Now the two terms, you're smart enough just to look at it. There's no GCF, but that's adopts because you have a minus. You have 2x times 2x should be 4x squared, and then 3 times 3. Okay, so you cross that out and write 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. Okay, this one here. 2x to the power 2 minus 13x minus 24. GCF would be 1, so I make my table. 2 times negative 24 would be negative 48. Positive times a negative, we're trying to add to get to negative 13. So 3 and 16 is it. A is 2, so you need 4 parentheses. You start with 2x plus 3, and 2x minus 16. Now that would stay the same, but this is divided by 2, and that's x minus 8. Now when you do, what you're dividing by here, don't, it's like you're dividing by 2 here, but don't pull 2 out anywhere. That's not part of that. The only outsides come from the GCF, which there were none. So I rewrite this as 2x plus 3 and x minus 8. Now cross out parentheses where it's possible. X plus 4, do I have that on bottom? Nope, I'm going to circle it. X minus 8 I got on bottom. Okay. 2x plus 3 we got on bottom. I think that's about it. I need to circle that one. So those two parentheses will stay in the product on top. Okay. So I put x plus 4, 2x minus 3. So now that I've written those, I can forget about them. Now, do you have any factors that are not in parentheses? I think you do. How about that? Yeah, you got x on bottom. So you need to put x on bottom. That's the final answer. Okay, hopefully that made sense or clarified some things. You're essentially trying to rewrite all these in factored form, cross out parentheses, simplify outsides, and so forth. So like I got this 8x a third, because after I did all the parentheses and wrote the ones I had left down, I need to multiply 4x squared by 2x, 8x third. Okay, there was nothing outside on top, so I didn't have to worry about it. Okay. These were all parentheses. I wrote the ones down I couldn't cross out. They stayed in the product. And I have this x here that's on bottom. Right here, there's no factoring to it, okay, at all. So again, I just simplify the outsides. I combine them first by multiplying, then I simplify them down.